Okay, so it's been a long time, about well, 2.5 weeks since I last made a video on what the Bible claims about itself, which this will be part 4. It's been quite a while because a lot of things have been happening from that point on, and like I got a different job now. It's almost 3 o'clock, and I can't stay up too late. I need to go to bed here soon. And I've gotten really used to staying up most of the day now and sleeping a good bit staying up a little while at night before I go to bed. Sometimes I fall asleep on the couch and it's like 5:20, 5:30 before I go to bed because the infomercials come on and that wakes me up. But usually not. I could dream a whole lot better. I have really crazy dreams, and interesting dreams, and that shows that I sleep a whole lot more, better than I ever have. But that's because I get real tired at work. It's interesting work. But anyway, history of the Greek New Testament. I want to go ahead and start that out, and it's been, like I said, about 2.5 weeks since I did this, almost 2.5 weeks. So I'll go ahead and follow through with that and go ahead and read some of it. I might get a little sleepy. It is incredibly windy outside. I hope that's not a bad windy. Anyway, history of the Greek New Testament. The most significant differences between the modern version and the King James derive from the fact that the new versions are based um, upon the different Greek texts as well as from different translation methods such as dynamic equivalency, which will be discussed later in the chapter. The following brief history of the Greek text is from an excellent publication by the Trinitarian Bible Society entitled The Lord Gave Us the Word, studying the history of the biblical text. The apostles' own manuscripts would almost certainly not have lasted much beyond the year AD. Yet our Lord had intimated that the Christian scriptures would be preserved. Heaven and earth shall pass away, he said, but my word shall not pass away. Matthew 24:35, 28:20, Mark 8:38, 1 Peter 1:23 and 25. Their preservation was ensured, of course, by a faithful and conscientious copying. Furthermore, there is a divine factor which must not be overlooked. In his superintending and gracious providence, God evidently assured the authentic text of the New Testament was transmitted to future generations. And of course, if I haven't already said it, this is from the Way of Life Encyclopedia of the Bible and Christianity, based upon the King James Bible, and written from an uncompromising Bible believing position. Edited by David W. Cloud. Okay, so, alright. Notwithstanding all this, errors did appear in some copies as more copies were made. Let's see here. Let me read over this, make sure I'm on the right spot. Okay. Kind of hard to hold this and the camera to the phone. There begin to appear a number of variant readings. The unintentional kind include misspelled words, confusion of letters, changes in the word order, the use of synonyms or verbal equivalents, and the omission of repetition of letters, words, lines, and even sections. There are, however, intentional changes by which we mean deliberate tampering with a sacred text, usually in the interest of a particular theology or doctrine. Dionysius, a minister at Corinth, in a letter dated about AD 168-170, deplores the fact that his own letters have been altered, and then adds, "It is not marvelous, therefore, if some have set themselves to tamper with the dominical scriptures." An unknown author, thought by some to be Hippolytus, but by others Gaius, writes somewhere around AD 230, they, the heretics, laid hands fearlessly on the divine scriptures, saying that they had corrected them. Orthodox teachers were fully aware of these wicked alterations, exposing them both in their teachings and in their writings. As a result, manuscripts considered faulty were not generally used for copying purposes. Only those which faithfully preserved the original became the standard of documents from which multiplied copies were made. Early Christian leaders certainly claim ability to evaluate the various manuscripts and decide which were the best and most accurate. For example, Irenaeus, in his great work against heresies, refers to the most approved and ancient copies. Every attempt was made to utilize their underlying text, with the result that the overwhelming majority of early Greek manuscripts were in essential agreement. We may therefore believe that the text of the majority represented the original with impressive accuracy. A great number of Greek manuscripts is available to us, written from as early as the 2nd century. Scholars who have studied them maintain that while there are variants, certain manuscripts have a great many readings in common with, which suggests that there are groups of or families. The major text types were as follows: the Byzantine, sometimes called traditional majority or Antiochian text, the Alexandrian text, or what some have called neutral text. The Byzantine text type receives its name from the fact that it was early associated with the imperial capital of Constantinople, formerly called Byzantium, and also from the fact that it became the standard text of Christian church throughout the Byzantine period, 312 to 1453 AD, and actually long after that. Prior to this and to its enthronement in the eastern capital, however, this form of text had been preserved. Prior to its enthronement in the eastern capital, however, in Antioch, capital of the Roman province of Syria, the church of Antioch was established by Paul and Barnabas and was one of the most important churches of the 1st century in Acts 13. The Byzantine text type has overwhelming support from the Greek manuscripts, the lectionaries, and the early versions. It is estimated that approximately 95% of the Unicode manuscripts had a Byzantine text. Even more can be claimed for the minuscules, since nearly all of these are Byzantine in their readings. The lectionaries thus far examined also give support to the Byzantine text type. The early versions are also support the Byzantine text type. The early versions. This includes the Syriac or Aramaic and Latin versions, which go back to the mid-2nd century. The Peshitta Queen versions is one of the early Syriac translations, and it certainly contains Byzantine readings. This is also true to the Gothic version of the 4th century, said to be translated by Euphilius. Bishop of Antioch. Critics who deny the primary of the primacy of the Byzantine text, referring to view it as a 4th century revision, often refer to the fact no early church father before Chrysostom, 347-407 AD, appears even to refer to it, let alone quote from it. Now, this is simply not true. Painstaking scholarly research has shown that Justin Martyr, 100-165 AD, Irenaeus, 130-200 AD, Clement of Alexandria, 150-250 AD, Tertullian, 160-220 AD, Hippolytus, 170-236 AD, and even Origen, 185-254 AD, quote repeatedly from the Byzantine text. Edward Miller, after classifying the citations in the Greek and Latin fathers who died before 400 AD, found that their quotations supported the Byzantine text 2,630 times, and other texts only 153 times. Furthermore, subjecting 30 important passages to examination, he found 530 testimonies to the Byzantine text, and only 170 in favor of it. This was his conclusion. The original predominance of the traditional text is shown in the list of the earliest fathers. Their records proves that in their writings, and so in the church generally, corruption has made itself felt in the earliest times, but that the pure waters generally prevailed. The tradition is also carried on through the majority of the fathers who succeeded them. There is no break or interval. The witness is continuous. The plain fact of the matter is that the 4th century the Byzantine text was emerging as the authoritative text of the New Testament, and for the next 1,200 years and more, it held undisputed sway over the whole of Christendom. Malcolm Watts. We complete the history of the transmission of the Greek text with a Trinitarian Bible Society publication entitled The Divine Original. For many centuries before the Reformation, Greek scholarship was virtually non-existent in Western Europe. In 1453, Constantinople, the ancient capital of the eastern part of the empire and the center of the Eastern Orthodox Church, fell to the Muslim invaders. One far-reaching result of this calamity was that Christian scholars with a knowledge of Greek and with Greek copies of the Holy Scriptures in their possession fled to Western Europe, where their influence gave a new impetus to the study of Greek. Of the Greek language. It has been said that Greece rose from the grave with the New Testament in her hand. Among the next generation of Greek scholars was Erasmus of Rotterdam. This is where it gets interesting. But I'm going to do the short section. Keep people hopefully interested. Who prepared an edition of the Greek New Testament from 5 manuscripts in repute at the time. While Erasmus used only a few manuscripts for his work, he had knowledge of a considerable number of Greek texts and ancient versions, including the Vatican Codex. See Erasmus. This edition was printed in 1516 and was followed by 4 later editions. At Alcala or Complutum University in 1502, Cardinal Ximenes gathered manuscripts and men under the direction of Stunica, who published the Complutensian polyglot in 1522. Robert Stevens, relying largely upon Erasmus and Stunica, and with an interest with at least 15 manuscripts at his disposal, produced editions of the Greek text in 1546, 1549, 1550, and 1551. In 1552, he withdrew to enjoying the Protestant cause. Theodore Beza produced 9 editions of the Greek between 1565 and 1604. These followed Stevens very closely, although Beza had some ancient manuscripts not available to Stevens. The Elsevier editions printed at Leiden have much in common with those of Stevens and Beza. The Elsevier edition announced itself as the Textus Receptus, and since that time, Stevens' 1550 edition has been known as the Received Text in England, while the Elsevier edition of 1633 had this title of the has had this title in the consonant. Okay, on the consonant. Okay, I'm getting sleepy and following up with this last one. Other names for the received text, the TR is called the traditional text, referring to the fact that it was the text commonly used by the New Testament believers through the centuries, and also to contrast it with the critical text of the modern era. The TR is called the Byzantine text because it is a text represented in the manuscripts from throughout the ancient Greek-speaking world. Byzantine points to the city of Byzantium, which was taken in possession by Constantine the Great in 330 AD. The name was changed to Constantinople. Protestant versions in the England and on the continent in the 15th and 16th century, 17th century, were based on these editions of the Greek text. These early printed Greek editions, while themselves based on the comparatively few manuscripts, have nevertheless proved to be representative of the Greek text embraced by many centuries earlier throughout the Greek text. The English versions of Tyndale, Coverdale, Matthews, or Rogers, the Great Bible, the Geneva Bible, the Bishop's Bible, and the Authorized Version were all based upon this company of Greek documents in which was preserved the Greek text generally received throughout the Greek churches since in the apostolic era. Oh wow, I'm really sleepy now. Well, I think 20 minutes was pretty good right there. And the next part starts out with the King James Version, and that should be interesting to read. I need to go ahead and get some sleep. I'm getting tired. Alright, well, hope that's interests somebody. I know it's kind of slurring all over the place, but that's all I can do right now. Okay, well, again, that's all I got to say for now. God bless. I hope you got something out there. You understand what I'm saying. And we'll see you later. Bye-bye.